Welcome to the Write Your Next Chapter podcast. This is how to live inspired. Let's go, my friends. We're so excited you could join us again. I think back to when the idea of Write Your Next Chapter first entered my head. I wanted to bring color and vibrancy into other people's lives.
When we teamed up to create this podcast, we knew we could bring together heartfelt stories, motivational talks, and so much intention to inspire others joining us on this journey.
Yep, we just wanted to give you a small glimpse into living your best life, or just that nudge you needed to start thinking about your next chapter. Now, let's get on to today's episode.
Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast.
We're excited.
Happy to have you. Today is going to be a fun one. We're hanging out with some friends. We're talking about overcoming fears, your experience list, and maybe bringing up a couple of our guilty pleasures.
Where are you going with this one?
Well, I would stay tuned to the very end and hear some fun facts about Vic, that's for sure.
This was a good one, right?
Yep, we had a blast recording this. Might be my funnest one to record yet.
Yeah, we round together Omid and Angela.
Yep.
And they're going to talk about ziplining for the first time.
Cool. So cool. Okay, so I think we should just get right into it because it's really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Fabulous.
We're excited to have you guys.
But we're going to talk about ziplining. I had the opportunity to take them on a little journey up into the mountains to go ziplining. And it was a blast. Like, it was cold.
Yes.
Definitely colder. So for those of you guys listening, we're in Southern California. And over the last few weeks, it was way hotter than we wanted it to be during the fall, right? So we were in the 90s. I think it even peaked into the hundreds some few days, right? And then we get up into the mountains, took a drive up to Wrightwood, about an hour and a half from where we live and work. And it was like 59 degrees and it felt amazing.
It was so great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure flying through the trees, it probably felt a little cooler too, which must be nice.
It was exuberating.
Okay, so have either of you gone ziplining before?
No.
First time?
First time.
First time. I have done it a couple times. A little apprehensive. Don't like heights.
What?
I can relate.
I don't either.
I don't like heights either, but I love ziplining.
But yeah, how many times have you been ziplining?
I don't even know. 5, 6. I don't even know.
But it's got to be pretty fun going with people for the first time because you don't know how they're going to react.
Totally. But then you're nervous too, I feel like. Just because I've been ziplining doesn't mean
It doesn't get easier.
Yeah, it doesn't get
easier.
easier. Like, there's still parts of it where you're nervous, right? So
for everyone who's listening that maybe doesn't know or hasn't done this kind before, is this just like you go to the top of something very tall and it's like one big zipline, or is it more of a course that you're on?
We did a course.
yeah. 9 zipline course, 2 rappels, and what they call sky bridges, which are basically like rope and wood blocks suspended up in the air, 200-300 feet up in the air. Cool. So it was really fun. It was really fun. So let's kind of give you guys a little bit of preface. We got on the road early in the morning. I think it was like 8 a.m. We met up and drove to Wrightwood, California. We drove up there, and I don't know, were you guys nervous on the drive up?
Not on the drive up. I was nervous, like, when I was standing there knowing, like, this is my moment. That's when I got scared.
Me too. Like, it wasn't, I was excited, like, driving, but once we got up to the top, to the first rappel, or to the first zip line, that's when I started getting nervous, because I had so much fun when we did the drive up the hill.
Yeah.
That was, like, super fun. But it wasn't until we got up to the first one.
And typically, because I've done ziplining with that company before, and they take you in like one of those white vans, and you go up the mountain, and it's windy, curvy. But this time they took us in like an off-road vehicle, and this dude was driving like a bat out of hell, and it was so much fun.
Our tour guides were awesome. They were so much fun.
Going up, like I was on the front seats on the side, going up that thing. Every time he was making a curve, I'm like, this is it. I'm not making it to the zip line. I see the side of the cliff that my wheel's hanging off of.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I sat in the back.
I was having too much fun though. Like I wasn't even caring how close I was to the edge because I was right behind you.
I was more scared of that drive than any of the zip lines.
So then, Angela, you said you were nervous on the first zip line.
Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners, the first zip line is where they teach you how to brake, and it's like 25 feet.
The thing that was the reason why it was a little nerve-wracking to me is because they teach you right-handed. So I'm left-handed. So everything, they had to go over it again backwards for me.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of was like, I hope I'm going to do this right.
This may be ignorance, but I didn't know you could brake on zip lines. I thought the intention was just to kind of like fall, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been on a zip line where I had an option to slow down and or stop.
Yeah, no, I
appreciate that.
ziplined out in Vancouver, well, in Whistler, Canada, and they had the automatic braking system. So when you got to the end, you got a really big jerk, just like your entire body gets flung around. So I love the one that we got to go and experience because you get to brake yourself. And I think typically, and I mean, I'm not an expert in the ziplining field, but I think typically you only brake yourself on shorter distance zip lines where you're not going as fast and you have more control over it, but I'm not 100% certain. It still freaks you out, the fact that you're putting your hand up on this big old metal wire going, 55 miles per hour and you're slowing yourself down. So.
I'm a control freak, so I feel like it's better for me to have control about when I can start slowing down than expecting somebody else to do it for me.
So nerves kicked in.
For me,
did they disappear quick, or were you guys still nervous after one or two zip lines?
I feel like it disappeared pretty quick until we had to do the rappels.
Oh my god.
We're going to get to that in a minute.
Wait, we're going to pause on the rappels for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the zip line.
The ziplining didn't scare me as much, even though I'm really terrified of heights, because you really don't see how high you are off the ground until you clear the tree line. And at that point, it's too late. You're already in it. So I was comfortable taking off. I got to the massive heights, and I was just having such a blast up there. I didn't have time to be scared.
Well, and you're familiar with more extreme sports. You do bouldering.
I do.
Can you explain what that is so if people don't know?
Bouldering is, in essence, doing indoor rock climbing on maybe 15 to 20 feet walls or higher, depending on where you go, but not too much higher. Because on bouldering, you don't use any ropes or harnesses to keep you up. It's just a free climb up a wall. And when you make it to the top, you got a free climb back down.
Okay, but if you're scared of heights, wouldn't you want that harness and the rope? And it seems counterintuitive a little bit.
Yes, but the reason I started getting into it was to challenge my vulnerability and my fear of heights.
Okay.
I slowly made my way up the wall first. It definitely wasn't a rush. I wasn't racing to the top. It was one small step at a time. And every small step helped me conquer that fear.
So do you think because you've been doing bouldering kind of set you up to be ready to do zip lining and take it a little more extreme?
I think it definitely helped me make the steps a little bit easier when it came to zip lining.
So you said you were nervous that this was your moment when you got to the top on that first one.
Yeah.
What was going through your head? Was excited, nervous, or oh no, what if I fall?
The nervousness was my feet are planted 1 second. I am flying the next second.
Literally flying.
Yes.
Some of these were pretty fast.
Yeah.
And we had a wind coming in because the winds were kicking up pretty big. So there was I think the longest zip line we did, we were hauling it.
They said it was a quarter mile, and our top speed was 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I think typically it's 50. We gained a lot of speed on that one. It was crazy.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
But I think when I look back at the whole time, I think the best part was there was one zip line. It was probably the fourth or fifth in, and they told us to scream as loud as we can, right? Like, so, I mean, I know when I got on there, I was losing my voice. I was like, It was horrible. I can barely even like hold that. But Omid
Oh my
won the award for that.
Amazing.
Right?
The whole way. The entire way.
So I'm going to see if it plays on my phone right now because
I wish I was there.
It was amazing. We were on one end. I went after him and we were like, oh my God, he's still going.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And it was, I was like blown away that you like held that entire time. And so I'm going to totally see if this will play.
Our tour guide even asked him, like, how did you hold it for so long?
Let's see if we can get this on audio here.
Yeah! Amid's got it, dude. It's making you guys look like chumps. He's being loud.
That was him in the background.
It was awesome.
I mean, that zip line was not short by any means either.
That's impressive.
It was kind of cheating because I yelled out 2 words really loudly while everyone did like 1 scream.
Okay.
So after I finished the first word, I was able to take a deep breath and I started the second word.
So what were your words? Was this like a word of power or affirmation for you, or just like a word?
Oh no, it was basically a variation of what the heck.
But from the other side of the canyon, all you heard was, oh.
Yeah. For a very long time. It felt
Oh my
like.
gosh.
That was awesome.
Oh man.
They had us yell out, what is our favorite animal sound?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I yelled out.
I did a cat. Didn't go very well.
Yeah, I don't know how you yell
Yeah.
cat sounds.
know.
Yeah. Okay, so you're nervous. You do the first one. Your feet are back on the ground.
Correct.
What does that feel like?
Feels good.
Yeah.
You know? Soaring through the sky like that, it felt great.
Is it nice to like, especially if you have nerves, conquer something or accomplish it and have that feeling of like, I can do it, or how high is high, like I can always accomplish something greater and like have that affirmation.
So yeah, after that first one, I felt super comfortable with all the other ones.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pretty easy after the first time. It
It's
wasn't.
still high off the ground though. I feel like there's still gonna be like, for me, a little bit of like a nervous trepidation every time you go to release. And
For me, it was more like every time we would get off a line and standing up in a tree and feeling it wobble and looking down. And then they would tell you to walk around the other side, and you like don't have a huge platform to walk on, but you have, 6 people up there with you.
Mhm.
That's a little nerve wracking.
And I don't know if anyone noticed when we were on those platforms, I was 2-hand gripping like my core, inching around these trees. My hands are like shaking because I'm so terrified. I'm taking small baby steps, inches at a time.
that's okay.
Something I
You
did
still
not
did it.
notice. You have to
He
go back to the
handles it like-
video and like watch some of
He
those.
handles it like a champ though, because I knew going into it that he was really super nervous, but like the majority of the time you couldn't tell at all that he was nervous.
We had a blast.
Yeah.
Like the
Oh my
whole
God,
time,
it
I
was
felt
so
it was
much
just
fun.
so much fun. I didn't even notice that you were nervous.
Okay, so tell me about the rappelling now.
We gotta talk about rappelling.
Oh
I
my
want to hear
God.
about this.
Basically, you're falling out of a tree at a very slow pace, but you get to control how fast you're going.
Which you would like, because
Which-
you like being in control.
Exactly, which I was okay with that. It was scary the first time. The second time, the only scary part of it was there were trees around us, so you kind of had to make sure you were avoiding hitting the trees. If you came close, you had to like kick yourself away from it. Jackson was, I think, the funniest one rappelling out of the tree, though, because he stopped like halfway down, and he thought that our tour guide was joking with him, but he was like, "Hurry up, let's go already!"
I think he even said like, "Come on,
Yeah.
I'm hungry here."
Yeah, that was the funniest part. But after the first time, it's not that hard. It's scary because you're going backwards down a tree on a rope, and
My most memorable moment of the whole ziplining was my interaction with Vic on the very first rappel, where I'm leaning back, falling off the trees, off the platform. My feet are still planted, but barely. I look like a table. I'm at a 90 degree.
yes, I remember.
Yeah.
This is the photo. We'll post it on the website.
Oh man.
And as I'm terrified beyond all belief, facing backwards, feeling like I'm falling off a tree, I see Vic run up to the platform. He's like, "Stop!" And I'm like, Vic, what is it? And he goes, I need to take a picture. And I'm terrified. I'm shaking. I'm like, Vic,
He's just hanging there.
I'm facing vulnerability. We gotta hurry this up. He's like, smile. And I'm like shaking and smiling all at the same time, hanging off of this tree. And I'm like, any day now, Vic. And he takes the photo.
Gosh. Jeez,
It was
Vic.
fun. It was fun.
Fun, yeah.
Yeah. But we'll post that photo. I think I have the audio from Jackson, and our tour guide's kind of just having a blast with him here.
Yeah, no pressure, Jackson, but today would be awesome. I'm getting kind of hungry. Oh no, I think you're stuck.
Sweet.
Oh, I think, wait. Casey, I think he's stuck! You cut the rope! Wait, kick your feet like a bicycle. There we go. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. You gotta loosen up though, bud. You gotta loosen up. You gotta really loosen up your hands.
Oh man.
I think that's what I loved about our tour guides is they were messing with us
They
the
were
whole
so
time.
fun.
They were
So-
great.
Was Jackson nervous on the rappel down? Is that why he stopped, or what caused him to?
I don't think
pause?
so.
Oh, yeah.
I think he just didn't know what was going on. So
Okay.
he just stopped. And when they started saying, I think he's stuck, I think he really thought that
Yeah.
he was stuck.
Well, to give you some context, this one was our second rappel,
Mhm.
and we weren't rappelling from a platform to the ground. You were rappelling from one platform to another platform, but you're still in a tree, really high up. And so,
That was the one where you had to avoid hitting the
yeah,
tree
you have to
as go
avoid,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's big branches sticking out, and you're rappelling kind of in between the branches. Mind you, your body's swinging, hitting branches, so I think Jackson was a champ.
Yeah, you did great.
Yeah, he didn't show like a single bit of nervousness, even though they were messing with him. Cut the rope.
Well, and then when he got down and the smell the tree.
Oh,
So we got to tell that story, totally, right?
Yeah.
So I'll let you tell it, Angela.
So after that rappel, the tour guide that was on the bottom side, he tells you Omid was the first one to go. Well, I was, and then I caught everybody else getting it on video. But he tells you, like, do you want to smell something really cool? And Jackson said no. And so he has you smell the tree, and it smells so amazing. It's like maple, like butterscotch. It's like
Smelled so
it's
good.
so
It's
amazing.
it's like those fancy candles you get with that smell that you smell it once and you're like, I wonder what that is. And you just keep smelling it over and over.
Yes. But Jackson's face, when he smelled it, he had this look of like amazement on his face, and then he went back in and smelled it again. That was great.
But I mean, having your tour guide, as soon as
Sniff
you
the crack.
plant your feet, he's like, hey, you want to sniff some crack? Like, how do you answer that?
Just to clarify, the crack in the tree. Though.
Yes.
Crack in the
Yes,
tree.
right.
So cool facts though, because I mean, I remember sniffing the crack in the tree before, but I didn't know the facts behind it. And he shared the facts, but they released this type of sap called heptane. And basically, it comes down all the grooves, all the cracks in the tree, so that in the event that it gets struck by lightning, the lightning will actually ignite the heptane and kind of act as like fire down the veins and then pop the bark off. So it actually doesn't affect the tree itself.
Oh.
So it's a survival mechanism for the trees. So it's really cool. Really, really cool.
So, all these survival mechanisms, they take thousands of years, right? As like evolution happens, all this good stuff. So how many times have these trees been hit by lightning? They need to create this survival mechanism so that the tree stands the test.
Well, he said something
just
about it
It's a
being
good question.
I mean,
like the survival mechanism behind that one is that it will lightning can strike that tree again, so it avoids. It's like protecting the trees around it,
Yeah.
so maybe it's more of like a lightning rod tree.
kind of.
But I mean, how often does lightning strike the same place twice?
Actually, quite often.
Yeah.
It's actually.
This is a different podcast now. but
I gotta look that up.
Okay, so I've heard a little bit about this from all of y'all before. I want to hear about you getting pushed. Just so everyone can hear this, because I thought this was really funny.
Who got
Definitely,
pushed?
definitely Angela's moment.
Angela got pushed out of a tree for sure. So we, at the very end, they gave us 3 extra lines, and after the very last line, you have to jump out of a tree.
Well,
it's not like the rappelling where you have control over how fast you're going, and you jump out of this tree backwards. So, of course, all of the boys go first.
Like a trust fall.
Yeah.
Definitely a trust fall. So you're still connected to obviously a cord.
Yes.
And the cord will act as like a mechanism to slow you down as soon as you hit a certain point. But yeah, you do have that zero gravity moment where it's like, whoa, I'm literally jumping out of a tree.
And you have no control over it. So that's kind of what scared me. So Vic and Omid went first. Omid was great the way he just fell like a bird out of the tree backwards, like he was just falling into a pool or something. It was just great.
So I took the phrase trust fall, and I took it as far as you can with the whole trust fall game that people play.
Okay.
Yeah, arms out.
Now, don't get me wrong. This was probably the scariest part for me because I had the same feeling as Angela, where when I felt like I was falling backwards doing the full trust fall, that last half a second that my feet were planted on the ground, I thought that was it.
It's so scary. So I am up at the top. The tour guide and Jackson are up there with me. These ones are on the ground and they're telling me, yeah, let's go. And I'm just like right up against the edge. And the tour guide's like, just fall backwards. And I'm like, I can't do it. And he's like, you got it. Everybody's cheering for me. You got it. And I was like, no,
So
seriously.
at this point, you've done 9, 10, 11, 12 zip lines.
And 2 rappels.
2 rappels.
But there was no way.
And you can't fall out of a tree?
I just couldn't do it. There was just no way. And I'm like, I can't do it. I was so terrified. And so the tour guide Vic's like, just push her. He's like, it's fine.
I don't recall saying that.
And then the tour guide just literally walks up and goes, boop. And I just fell out of the tree. But everybody's like, oh, yeah, we jumped out of a tree. I'm like, well, except for me, I got pushed out of the tree.
And you fell out.
I got pushed.
Gracefully.
I got pushed.
You were that baby bird that didn't want to learn how to fly, and the mom just kind of like scooted out of the nest.
Exactly. No, that was terrifying. That I don't know if I would want to do that again.
So how many people did you go back and tell, like, I literally jumped / got pushed out of a tree?
I mean,
it must have been a proud
people.
moment, right?
Well, I was happy because, like I told the tour guide afterwards, I was happy that he pushed me because I would have never just jumped. I was so terrified. But the experience of it was so unbelievably amazing. Like, I wouldn't take it back for the world, even though it was terrifying.
But I think it's a good life lesson as well, because sometimes, like Omid, you're able to gracefully jump out of the tree and do it yourself, even when you're scared. And sometimes you're an Angela and you need that push and you're grateful that it happened, but sometimes you need that little extra oomph. I'm sure like a lot of you are listening can probably relate in your life, or I know I have sometimes needed someone to push me out of the tree, and I've been glad I've done it after. But
I think there's a lot of times where we need that push, but sometimes there's not someone there to push us.
right, so then how do you overcome that?
You have to learn how to push yourself.
Yeah.
So next time we go, because we're gonna go ziplining again. That's a given.
Yes.
Angela says she's gonna jump.
She'll be the first
I
one
said that?
Backward.
When did I say that?
It's just
blindfolded.
She said it right. She said it right now on this podcast.
You all heard her. You heard her.
it's just
Right.
one step at a time off of that platform.
Yes, there's only 2 steps.
So instead of me going first, you're gonna go first on that one.
I think what made it challenging is every zip line that we did, it started in a place that we can feel comfortable with it. We go off the first zip line, only 25 feet is still a lot if you fall from 25 feet, is we had the opportunity to build confidence with every zip line, get confidence in the gear, get confidence in what was going on. And then the very last one, the fall, is like, this is not the same zip line. This is literally you grab on and you go straight down. Right? It's not a elegant glide through the sky. It's just like your wings got clipped and you're just going down.
Just go.
It was terrifying, but also exhilarating at the same time.
So my question for you guys is, was ziplining ever on your experience list? Was it something you wanted to experience in your lifetime?
Me, yes. I had planned on doing ziplining in Hawaii a couple years ago, but then my daughter had a bad accident, so we had to cancel our trip. But part of ziplining, part of our trip. But, and we were planning on doing it next year too. So I'm glad that I did it before her because she's terrified of heights. Like I just don't like heights, but she's terrified. So I'm glad I did it before her, so that way I know what to expect, so I can be the mom and be the tough one.
Yeah, now you get to go first on the next trip.
Yeah. So
What about you, Omid? Was this part of your experience list?
It's always been something I've wanted to try, but it's never something I've pictured myself doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
One of those fantasies that was no longer a fantasy. We did it. It was real.
that's awesome. Well, the reason I ask is because it's in the workbook.
Right.
It's part of the second portion of the workbook, which is really about bringing that color, that vibrancy into your life. And the way to do that is to create an experience list where you go, these are the things I want to experience in my lifetime, and start doing them now. And it's so much different than a bucket list. I mean, so many people talk about a bucket list, and while I think they're great, they're also a little morbid, right? Things I got to do before I die. And I feel like with an experience list, these are experiences you get to take with you. As soon as you get them done, they become a memory, and then you get to create another experience list and go after something bigger and better. And for me, ziplining was always on my experience list. And so I'm so grateful that every time I've done it, I've been able to walk away and go, I loved it even more than the last time. And so
Yeah, and I know your wife just recently crossed something off her experience list too, swimming with sharks. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a podcast with her sometime
you're
soon.
definitely going to have to jump on a
I'll have
podcast
to
with
hear
her.
about that. That'd be cool. So what else is on your guys' experience list? What else do you want to get to do? Any other big ones jumping out at you?
I don't have anything new to sort of say. I do
Okay.
have the next steps and the things I'm already taking part of.
Can you share any of them?
Yeah, so we've already talked about bouldering and rock
Mhm.
climbing once before. I'm hoping that I can get to a level with that where maybe one day I get to compete in some competitions,
Okay.
even if they're just beginner levels.
Cool.
Go
That's
out
awesome.
and do that.
That's going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, that's really neat. Especially if you're afraid of heights. It's a good testimony to doing something you love and
Yeah.
overcoming your fears if you're willing to do it, especially without a harness. I'm definitely not there yet. I want to feel very secure if I'm going to be rock climbing with the harness and the rope.
It's
and
not as hard as you think it is, though. Because I felt the same way. You can ask me. Like, I felt the same way before I did it the first time.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not as bad as you think it is.
Maybe.
It's super fun.
But that'd be pretty neat. Is it? Are the competitions for like height or speed, or I don't really know how you measure success in bouldering?
There are many different types of competitions. The one I was thinking of doing, and one that was actually offered to me by the people who also go with me rock climbing, is these courses are not really based on speed, but more based on your consistency.
Okay.
So they'll provide courses based on your difficulty that you're used to, with all sorts of different challenges, and you can see how many of these courses you can consistently do.
Okay, that's pretty neat. What about you, Angela? What else is on your experience list?
I don't have any like extreme sport stuff really on my experience list. I'm more of like just experience what I can. Like I have trips planned and stuff like that. I do have ziplining planned on my next trip to Hawaii next year.
But that's okay. Like
Yeah.
for you, for anyone who's listening, your experiences don't have to be extreme sports. It doesn't have to be jumping off tall buildings, all these crazy things, or something super dangerous. It's just something that you want to experience. It's going to fulfill you and bring joy to your life and give you a sense of accomplishment. It doesn't have to be expensive or exotic. Like it can be anything that's going to make you feel happy and fulfilled in your life. So I don't think people have to be signing up for crazy
Yeah.
skydiving and bungee jumping to cross it
Yeah,
off
I
a
don't know
list.
I
about
would
skydiving.
definitely
I don't know
do
about
neither of
skydiving.
those. Those are
Good.
not on my list.
We're all in
Absolutely.
cahoots together. No
I've
skydiving.
bungee jumped. Skydiving,
Ooh,
not on my
I wouldn't do
experience
either.
list, right?
No,
So-
definitely not.
I would definitely have to get pushed if we go skydiving.
No trust fall out of there.
No trust fall out
What's
there.
on your experience list, Chelsea?
Oh, geez. There's a lot of places that I want to explore. I really want to go back to Canada, where my dad was born, see where he grew up. I would love to do that with my dad. That's been on my experience list for a long time. I've got a lot of silly, trivial things. Like I said, they don't have to be scary, whether like some reading things, stuff like that. I've been collecting books in a series for a couple of years now until I collect the whole work of literature by the same author, and then I want to read all those books in a year span. So it's kind of like a New Year's resolution / experience. I want to like go through his entire collection. He's been writing since well before I was born, so I think it'd be cool to see how his writing evolves and changes as an author and all that good nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Weird things.
It's exciting.
What about you?
My list is growing longer and longer and longer.
I know.
Trips. So there's a country artist that I've been wanting to see his Christmas concert.
Wait.
Years.
Time out. Just so our listeners know, Vic is an insane, diehard Mariah Carey Christmas fan. Like, I'm talking, no, you will not cut this out. All of his music is Christmas Mariah Carey. It is the only music he plays at work. I'm sure it's probably the only music playing at home or in his head all Christmas long.
Since May.
I mean, basically, the second Christmas is over. It's time for Mariah Carey Christmas again. So what I'm hearing you say, and I just want this on the record, is that you are willing to cheat on Mariah for your Christmas music this year.
Yes.
I just want you all to hear this and understand how important this experience is for him. Because him and Mariah go way back.
Way back.
She doesn't know it.
So let's just clarify for everyone listening. I've spent numerous Christmases with Mariah. Numerous.
His wife knows about this. It's okay.
It's totally okay. We spent time at Disneyland with Mariah.
Vegas with Mariah
many times, right? So this year's going to be different. Once again, experience list. So
Right.
we're talking about experience list. What else do you want to experience? So I love Christmas. Christmas is definitely my season. And I wanted to take a trip, and we said, let's just book our trip. So yeah, that's definitely something on the experience list. A lot of traveling, a lot of sightseeing. I want to continue to grow this project. So I reached out to a few people to see if we can get it into local organizations and churches to do small group settings. So that's on my experience list. A huge sense of vulnerability, because I'm going to have to like get up in front of a group of people that I do not know and talk about my story and how this project came about. So that's going to be a big experience for me. And maybe doing more events like we recently did at a breast cancer event.
Yeah, metastatic breast cancer.
Yeah, met quite a few people there. One girl who got me a little teary-eyed. So those types of events are definitely on my experience list. Any last words about ziplining for those people listening that...
Would you recommend it?
Absolutely, 100%. It's so worth it. Even if it's terrifying, I think it's something that everybody should try once, because it was amazing, and I'll definitely do it again.
What about you, Omid?
Absolutely. The zip lining, being over the mountain as I went across it, staring at the view from the top of the trees, I just can't get that not going.
Yeah. I remember even leaning over to me one time and you were like, I can't even like wrap my head around the fact that I'm out here right now. Like, and I was like, what? And I think you said something like, I would have never imagined myself out here right now doing this.
Never.
And so I think that's such a huge takeaway for so many people, is if we don't push ourselves to do the things that we're uncomfortable wanting to do, like we're not going to grow as a person.
Yeah, what is that saying? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Sharing your story and laughing and saying, wow.
Wow.
Those are going to be on the outtakes
Oh,
for
no,
sure.
wow. Thanks for letting us razz Vic a little bit about his Mariah Carey obsession.
It's not like we don't do it all the time.
True, but now everyone gets to know. The world will know.
Mariah will know.
Mariah will know. Maybe she'll listen to the podcast.
She already does.
Well, thanks so much for being here with us and taking time out of your day. And we can't wait to hear more about your experience list.
Yeah, until next adventure, guys.
Till next time.
Till next time.
That was an amazing conversation, wasn't it?
It was a great conversation.
I had so much fun.
I had a blast. I got to make fun of you a little bit. I got to talk about things. I think you
enjoyed that too much.
It's good to razz each other a little bit about it. But I mean, it is something that you love. So it's all in good fun.
Totally.
As friends.
But I loved it. We were having fun. We were smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish our listeners were in the same room as us because we were literally scrolling through the photos of ziplining. But it was a blast. I had such a good time.
Yeah, but especially getting to explore their first impressions with something they're scared of. It's always kind of neat to see how people handle fear or that nervousness or anxiety a little bit, especially because Omid and Angela are complete different people with how they handle that, but still going through that same trepidation of trying something for the first time.
And I love that metaphorically we talked about so many things, right? We talked about needing that little push.
Right.
We talked about what is on your experience list and what that's going to bring into your life from an energy standpoint. And so I highly recommend that everyone begin thinking about what your experience list is, begin writing it down. And ultimately, if you need that little push, I mean, you can easily go onto our website, writeyournextchapter.org, grab one of the workbooks and begin just putting a pen to paper. It's as simple as that, right?
Yep. And if that's not push enough, you can always reach out to us.
Totally.
And we're happy to give you that push too.
I will always push you.
Shove them right out of the tree.
Go do something big, bad, jump out of a tree, go ziplining.
Yeah, be your most authentic self. Yeah. And if we got to push you out of the tree to get you there, we're happy to do it.
Yeah. Well, I had a blast. I can't wait till our next podcast.
Yeah.
And we'll see where our adventures take us.
Until next time, guys.
See ya.
Bye.